And I should say welcome once again. It's been a while. This is Ted Hicks for the Late Night Parents. It's actually been about 5 months. So someone said you were looking for us, and we're back. So, as I mentioned, brief hiatus. Everyone's always working on something. Long story short, I just took a break because it was the holiday season, and it was stuff that I usually do, where I kind of cut down on shows and cut down on posts and kind of stay off the social media because holiday season is usually for the family. However, that bled into January and for the most of the month of February, Black History Month. So the goal is to at least do a pod a week, try to squeeze in some smaller ones, get back into gear with this type of stuff. But best ways to follow the show is latenightparents.com. Good friend on the line, Shawn Armor, is with me to discuss some of these, I guess, titillating topics that are happening nowadays in the world of politics and cable news and all the above and conspiracy theories. Shawn, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Yeah, man, it's been a while. I looked at the iHeart channel, and it said the last time it came up on my phone, and this AI stuff is really, really crazy because it's like the last posted a podcast was 5 months ago.
Right.
And I said, wait a minute, what's going on here? But, dude, as always, it's good to speak with you. I mean, we talk virtually all the time.
Yeah.
And various chat rooms discussing, left versus right versus wrong.
Culture versus buffoonery. Exactly. It's just we all get together and without any politeness because we're essentially family, and we just start slinging food around, I guess, on all topics. We all have. It's amazing how many varieties of a view of a topic you can get from our group of 15 guys in that chat room. You know, and we all grew up together. I mean, how can you be that different? And we all, I guess we didn't grow up in the same house, but it shows you the deviation from the original. You know what I mean? How you can have one slightly lighter, slightly lefter, slightly taller, slightly shorter, and then before you know it, the height in your family goes from between 5'5" and 5'7" to 6'6" and 6'8", just because these slow increments slowly begin to develop, and I think that's happened with all of us. Some of us are Caribbean, some of us are Southerners, some of us are Northerners, kind of with families. So yeah, and now we get into that chat room, and everybody's like,
"I'm
first of all, everybody's right."
And if you don't like it, tough.
Yeah, exactly. Give as good as you get, or get out of the chat.
Get out of the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, get out of your feelings.
Exactly. And it's good because no one expects to convince anybody, but everyone expects to be heard, and that's what this country really, really needs. Maybe you're feeling the need to get hurt by the truth, but you have a long history of not liking the truth.
It's true.
So,
hey,
yeah.
Tell me this much: when they had the Iowa caucus, whose bright idea was it? Because we all saw the fallout. Whose bright idea was it to use that shadow app?
Well, here's the thing: everybody's trying to be too cool by half. You know what I mean? So you got all these 70-year-olds talking about apps, and remember, I want to say 4 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, 5 weeks ago, we were ridiculing Joe Biden for saying what was it? Hit me up on that. So he gave a phone number, didn't he? It was something like, if people were like, what? He might as well have been handing out business cards, which no one does anymore either. So, people are wacky. So then they get all these tech people who are, anywhere between mid-20s as vice to their, so you report to like your candidate, right? But your candidate's advisors are like 50 and 60. Those guys have all these tech guys who are like 30. And those guys get to be, communications director of this and that. So they're just a tier off, but they're essentially 40 years younger than the candidate. And the translation of the information, let's just say, one, I don't think they care about. So I think it's kind of like, hey, yeah, we got this app. Huh? App's the hot word, right, kids? You kids love apps. So we got this app. So come and vote for us. And meanwhile, you're looking at, Elizabeth Warren, who is essentially running in her yoga gear with bright jackets. Somebody explain that to me. She's not even wearing shoes. She's out there in her comfortable sneakers. I'm like, you could have done this on the couch. You love her?
Always with a colorful blazer on. Love it.
Yeah, I know, right? Dressed in all black with sneakers on and a cover. I'm like, she's not even going in for like the what is it? The pantsing. She's just like if she had like a gold chain on, I would swear that she was selling you hip hop memorabilia or something. I'm telling you. So, but then you've got like Buttigieg, who is just no one. I hate to say this. He reminds me of you ever see the Dead Zone? Yeah. So in the Dead Zone, there's this politician played by Martin Sheen. He reminds me of that guy. So I just don't like him. So I've gone through all these guys. I think it's Bernie's to lose, and I think what you're witnessing is a lot of shakiness. I mean, you can lose a lot of information in a shadow app. You know what I mean? And go, oh, hey, look, so-and-so won. I mean, mind you, Pete Buttigieg is surging in the polls because of that shadow app. All of a sudden, he's 2 and 3. After that Iowa caucus incident. Before that Iowa caucus incident, where was he? He was a strong 4 and 5. Now then, after that, and he declared victory, didn't even win, and then he's flooding around 2 and 3 to Bernie. Right?
Well, I just want to.
It all seems. Yeah, go ahead.
Step back on the shadow app is something that's great. Hey, can I use it to vote? Can I use it to do this, or can I use it for polling? I just think certain civil liberties that we do, we should go to the polling. Whatever happened to going to wherever you're going to vote,
your ballot and getting a receipt for your. We had this conversation. You know what? They've essentially outsourced government, and neither one of the parties like change. Neither one of them, because change means that they would have to go, and all the influence and power and money they get for sitting there. You show up in Congress as a lawyer, and then you stay there for 40 years, and you're ridiculously rich with 9 houses. All you ever have.
But
is excuses for why nothing gets better. Yeah, but I'm telling you why. I'm coming back to it, right? This is what the people complain about constantly and perpetually, right? This is what we're always complaining about. The people that we complain about, the people that we complain to about it, whatever the it is, and the people that we complain to are always, the problem is always the same, and the people we complain to, like Joe Biden, he's been in there since he's been 29, 50 years, are always the same, right? So people have finally had it. So now, in the age of technology, if technology wasn't where it was, America would have had a revolution, I think, 20 years ago. Everybody knows they're getting conned. Like, everybody is sort of, I want to say, seething about it. So you end up with people like Barack Obama, right? So after George Bush, you had Barack Obama, who was supposed to be the voice of change, and he did the same thing. People wanted change. Then you got Trump. because, hey, he's not a politician and a billionaire. He can't be bought. That was one of the first things. That's what Bloomberg is running on now, right? He can't be bought, and he tells it like it is, and he was telling it, I gave you money, I gave you money, now you're here, you know, so he took on all these guys, and like, he's taken on, he's slaying the dragons. We don't like these dragons, and Trump is slaying these dragons, right? So,
but I want to go back
I think the thing is about change in these apps. So now you have the same thing, but now you have these app guys. You still have the same dissent among the people, right? You still have them looking essentially for a hero, right? You still have these same players perching like gargoyles on ease, I guess, and just overlooking us. People like the Eye of Sauron, essentially. People want a break. So now you get these apps. You can't give people a break, but what you can do is essentially start talking like those not political radicals is what they called them in the 60s. Now they're called what was Obama? Community activists, right? So in the 60s you were political radicals for saying the same thing that you're saying now. Now you're community activists. Now these 70-year-olds are talking, sounding like community activists, promise you all this stuff because what they don't want is any change. Because I think these apps not so much represent change, but they represent control, and they represent. Hey, look, we know what's happening, my fellow kids. You know, and so you get people who are essentially good speakers and lawyers, right? They're good to standing up and arguing a case, good or bad, and you give them this apparatus. Where think about it. You're supposed to be able to, if you have an app, you're supposed to be able to know who used that app, when they use it. It's essentially right. It's essentially technology. It's technology. It's math.
So I got to jump in here.
But you can't get.
When is your day? When do you vote? Because when I voted recently for like local politics, I still go to the local elementary school. I still get my piece of paper. Like, has this, I mean, are we at the point now where are we going to be using these apps, or are they going to put this?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's what the people are angry about. You know, you should be able to vote when you get your driver's license. You should be able to essentially vote at every post office. You should be able to, the way technology is, how fast they take money out your pocket, know if you blew a red light and will send you a check. Right, they know enough to muck up the Wall Street accounting numbers so that nobody goes to jail, because if you do, the whole economy will collapse. But nobody can fix using that technology to make sure your vote at one man, excuse me, ladies, but one person, one vote. Right, that idea is super available and relevant now, and the founders dreamed of it 240 some odd years ago. So. This is why you have, I mean, mind you, you don't cast your vote, Ted. I don't cast my vote. And then it goes to the president of it, right? It goes, essentially, they put it in a vat, like apples. You give an apple that, like, your representative picks up that bag of apples, and those apples, he gets a claim that in representative of all these apples, which all represent a person, I will cast what I know for this group of people. If that group of people in that apple say, I'm giving them an apple, I want you to go to, you know, it's apple. Let's say the town square is a small utopian village, let's say. I love the idea of a utopian village because it really shows how things work and how things don't. So this village of, let's say, 500 people who give a couple of people the power to vote, but instead of everybody going, okay, we got 300 people saying we should name the town Great Hills, and we've got 200 people who don't like that name, where you definitely know who wants what. Here, you get all those people, 300 people give their vote to Bob, and another 300 people give their vote to Rob, right? So, and then, but Rob decides, you know what? I can make a lot more money, and I own more property over here. And me and Rob went to school, and he can vote completely against the will of all those voters, all those assholes, right? He can essentially, now is the time where that should be dead. Because you know, and if someone voted wrong, you have people in jail for voting twice, right? So you know enough to know who voted twice, but you can't put any of this technology So I should be able to hit a button on a government app created by the FBI or the CIA or whatever the hell you want. So it's ensure that the voting app on my phone is absolutely right. The idea that the Russians are in our elections again and we haven't done anything serious is crazy, right? No one, I think people are used to these seats in government, and I don't think anybody knows what they're doing. And I think it gets lazy, and I think that's where we are. So now you got these apps, and people want you to have faith in the apps because of technology, and hey, we're the government, but they don't know how to use the apps. And now you have all these people, all this faith in people who built the app, run the app, own the app, as if they are government employees who run a super secure server. I mean, let's be clear. The government computers should be the best computers, right? They should run on the best processors and hard drives, and they should have all this stuff because at the end of the day, the information they're processing, for as much as I want to perpetually bitch at my government, the amount of information they root through and sift through can't be done by hand. So they have to be computer savvy. And I think that what this government did is play too fast and too loose with the rules and dumb down this society when we need to take, I mean, the Russians are essentially cyber attacking us. And, you know,
so
and
I think what I'm going to do is reach out to Shadow Inc., to their CEO, their COO. I mean, I'm sure everyone else has reached out to them. James Hickey and Gerard Naim Mira, because I'm surprised how this company isn't bankrupt by now.
Well, here's the thing. I think they have powerful friends, and, you know, you get to shake hands and do it again. I mean, people are still selling bad aircraft to, like, the government, right, to the military.
Yeah.
So I think what they did was they gave you a sacrificial lamb, right? The head of the DNC in Ohio is gone, and that closed the books on it.
Well,
they'll just get a new app. They'll rename the app.
That's true, but I think they are soiled. I think the company.
Well, they'll change their name.
I mean,
like
they're going to have to.
Isn't Blackwater anymore? Yeah, but it'll still be the same people. It's, you know, everything is done like a golf club. It's a handshake. They'll change the name of the company. They'll, like, kick out the worms. This is where we had a problem the last time. Because I remember, like, 15 years ago, the issue was these diebold voting machines that didn't give you any printouts, and you didn't know where your votes were going. And if you touch one, it could be given to, you know. So all this shady technological nonsense, they think, look, America needs to have, America is going to have a reckoning, because we're not founded, first of all, I hear this all the time, we're founded for immigrants. No, we're not. We're not founded for immigrants. George Washington and those guys didn't storm hills and, you know, push out the British and tip tea so other people can come live here and talk about, you know, fly two flags. It's ridiculous. This place was founded essentially on freedom and privacy. Right, your freedom to be private. I don't want the government in my business. You know, I have the freedom to tell you to go screw yourself, Mr. King or King George or whoever the heck you are. And that goes with the freedom of you to do essentially what you want, as long as you didn't butt up against the freedom of somebody else. Like they always say, right? The First and Second Amendments. One is for shooting your mouth off, and the second is for shooting your gun off. You better support that stuff you're talking about. So that's what this is, right? You got a lot of freedom, but you also got to watch other people's toes. And this is why I tell people we're supposed to be a brash people. And people love to come here and then complain about us, but they want to be here. So I'm sort of beginning to lie. I sort of lost my train of thought on this. But, you know, it's the idea is,
anyway, while you catch your train of thought, I just want to talk about. I per se don't want to get into the individual candidates, but but the topic.
But they matter. They matter so much. They're endemic of what's wrong.
Yeah, but hold on. The topic.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
What I want to discuss is, because it's reared its ugly head again, was the whole stop and frisk. And
yeah.
You know, I mean, I get it. We get it. You know, it's if you're a Democrat or an independent, you're not happy with the current situation of the country. We get it.
But hold on now. A lot of conservatives aren't happy either, and that's the problem. It's not like one people are unhappy. Everybody's unhappy.
I didn't get to that yet. You've got the country that's in a swirl. You know, the president seems to know it. You watch any cable news show, it's at the top of the hour you're hearing about it. But we go back to, you know, there was a plethora, because we would always joke about there's 30 candidates that are running for, you know, the nominee. So now there's about, I think, strong 5 or 6, or I'm not sure what the number is.
I think it's 6. It's it's Warren, Buttigieg, Biden, Bloomberg, Klobuchar, and Bernie. How much is that? How many is that? It's like 6.
Roughly.
Good Lord,
roughly.
My counting is bad.
So we're at the point where Mayor Bloomberg, his ads, and you know everyone was saying he's hiding behind the ads. It just hit. And the thing is, when you have money like that, you could say, hey, I'm going to take these first couple of races off, and 4 or 5 races down the line, I'm going to infiltrate those areas.
Yeah, I'm just
nonstop.
Yeah.
We're going to blitz it.
Yeah,
but
he essentially took a shortcut on a marathon. Everybody else is doing the 26. What is it, the 26.2? And he just essentially cut through the park with a police escort, you know. I mean, a lot of this is ridiculous.
Well, you weren't living in New York at the time. You were living in New York at the time. From 2001 to 2013, you were still in New York, correct?
Yeah.
So you watched it on the news as it came up, and you know the numbers were, you know, devastating about black and brown people being stopped.
Yeah, they stopped more black and brown people than live in the city.
Right.
That means everybody got stopped more than once.
Right.
That's what it is. It averaged out to that. So if your kid didn't get stopped, another kid got stopped 20 times.
Right. 2011 alone.
It averaged out to
700,000 stops in 2011 alone.
Outrageous.
You know, and you know the minute, and the thing was, it made it so easy for Mayor De Blasio, at that point in time, candidate De Blasio, to come in to say, hey, I'm going to shut this down.
Yeah.
And he did proceed to wind that number down. But I want to just mention to you, because I think I mentioned to you in a chat that I was reading a report from the NCYLU that in 2019, stop and frisk jumped 22% to 13,000.
Yeah, it's beginning to climb again.
13,400 plus stops. You know, so it's the highest number since 2015. So still, that number affects 80% of black and Latinos being stopped.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. Whenever stuff begins to go bad, they paint you as the villain, and then those things go up to say that you're tough on crime, right? It's cynical. I'm sure they wouldn't say that. But again, you know, Bloomberg said all kind of things about it in public and in private that he is now apologizing for. America has a long history of, when the politics get bad, blaming a group, demonizing somebody so people can, you know, sort of stay in power. And that happens at all levels. There's a city councilman talking about we need more cops on the street, you know, at this moment, who will then go into a black church and go, you know, the policing is ridiculous and we should do something about it. You know, it is what it is. It's something that needs to go away. And I think that's just another
policy is here.
Another straw on the camel's back. Yeah, go ahead.
I said the policy is here. It's never going to go away.
I don't know. I mean, I think it will eventually go away because they have to do something about it. They really do because it's unconstitutional. You just can't stop random people and rifle through their pockets because you think they did something. You know, it's sort of like me running around Times Square, rifling through every woman's bag because I think they may have, a black lipstick. Or not even so much as black, just an average red lipstick. All of a sudden, some people don't wear lipstick. Some people don't, who are you to run around just assuming this thing? And some people may wear it all the time. You just may catch them in their workout gear, right? So now you associate that black lipstick with, let's say, a certain group of women, right? And for this, let's not even use race. You can say women of a certain age, right? So I can run around and spook out women from 18 to 25, just kind of, and then ask them what they're wearing and why they're wearing it. It's a really simple way to just kind of mess with people when you shouldn't be messing with people. And that's what it is. People walking down the street should not be stopped because you think they did something or you think they're going to do something. You should have some evidence that they're going to do something. I followed him. I saw a guy. He looked a little suspicious. He was watching women. So I ducked into like a shop window where he couldn't see me. And I watched him for like 10 minutes. And then I noticed it looked like he picked a target. He followed a lady. And then I thought he was going to grab her. Oh, why do you think he was going to grab her, officer? Well, I didn't really think about it. I heard that there was a guy mugging ladies. I thought this might have been him. But, it could be like the Shropshire Slasher. And you get lucky and actually get a worse bad guy. But if you're just out there mucking with everybody, not even looking for small clues that say people are up to badness, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? People are kind of conniving. I mean, they don't sit there with a smile on their face and connive. Generally, you take on a posture because it's something in your subconscious that's going, okay, I got to get my head in the game. I'm about to snatch it first, and I want to make sure, my getaway route is good or whatever you're doing. Cops should be looking for that instead of going, hey, there's two people walking around. And they ended up doing that and just stopping essentially every black person like twice who lived in the city. And they couldn't explain it. They could not explain it. So yeah, it needs to end. It violates your right to privacy, your right to remain secure in your person, I think it is, which means not just your house, but if you're walking down the street, nobody can rifle through your pockets and like.
It violates your Fourth Amendment.
Right. You're right. Yeah. Is that the fourth? Yeah. Let's go for it because I'm not sharp as I should be.
No, I'm just saying.
But yeah, it's definitely one of the big ones. Yeah.
I mean, when you stop someone, you seize them. When you frisk someone, you
search.
Yeah.
I was taught arresting somebody is more than just putting handcuffs on somebody. Me stopping you arrests your movement. You cannot leave because I have you there as a police officer, sheriff, special agent, whatever title the government gives these men and women to operate on their behalf. They just can't do whatever they want, right? I mean, we had a guy who got in trouble for pulling over cute girls in cars. And I was like, yeah, you should have, I mean, another guy was running cute girls' license plate numbers. It's like, why, what are you doing? And people get comfortable, like, I don't want to say skirting the rules, let's just call it. The longer you're in a place, in a position, the more you get lazy with the rules, the more you get smart. And if your job is, well, I don't want to say inconsequential. No job is inconsequential. But if your job is sort of boring, but you have a lot of power in it, you can begin to kind of like, muck with people for no other reason than you want to. And if that becomes, and it has become, all right to just kind of like not be serious about your job as, law enforcement, it kind of gets crazy. And I think that's where we are now. I think the stop and frisk thing especially for the Democrats, should be one of these things that is a zero tolerance for, and they're trying to also, use that as like an election year thing.
It's hard to, if you're pandering to black voters,
yeah,
and black and brown voters, and then it's like stop and frisk is a non-starter.
Right. And that's why stop and frisk worked as and crime worked as a political cudgel in New York all those years, because essentially the guys in power who ran the city just murdered off all the promise of the city through the 70s, right? And there was New York blight, and then the people who stayed there, who made a go of it, came up with all sorts of like new innovations just by being poor in New York in like the 70s, the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And now the city, is $3,000 rents. And, in order to get there, what did they do? Remember, when Giuliani came to town, he came through, essentially, I don't want to say with a racist platform, that wouldn't be right, but there was a lot of racial animus when Giuliani was running against David Dinkins. There was the police department had a riot at City Hall. Remember that? And then Giuliani came in, this tough on crime thing, and just pulled stop and frisk, I guess, out of actually there was a guy who was a transit cop who became, I want to say Maple, who came up with like Comstat and all these things, and that was one of his monsters, I want to say, but I could be wrong. But the idea that if you're walking around, what do they call it, broken windows? If you're walking around and you're up to something,
right?
You got no job, you don't stay in the house, and that's what they wanted. And yet there was crime because there's no opportunities in those neighborhoods, right? And you box them in, so they're not going to be crime in white neighborhoods. So you box into these neighborhoods in your own, like, I guess, area, and like people get into tips on who can sell weed where, and so yeah, it just gets to be a zoo. But not just, what about all these honest people who are just trying to get from point A to point B, who had to worry about that zoo and then had to worry about the cops? You know what I mean? So stop and frisk killed people. It did. I forget his name. I want to say Rashawn.
Sean Bell? No, not Sean Bell.
No. He went into his house, the cops followed him into his house and shot him in his apartment.
Okay.
It'll come to me. I usually have these names like tucked away in back drawer in the back of my brain. I think it's important to sort of remember them. But it'll come to me when I'm off your podcast.
Hey, I just want to jump in here and say this is Late Night Parents.
Yeah.
This is Ted Hicks, Shawn Armor. We're sitting here just talking about, some rough topics. It's not your usual Sunday evening show where we're just talking tech and everything. Well, we did touch upon a little bit of tech with the Shadow app. But ways to follow the show is just go to latenightparents.com. We're back. Everyone's back. And we hope to be active again. Hey, I want to touch base with you and get your take on, I'm going to say last month with the whole, with Kobe Bryant passing away, him and his daughter and 7 others passing in that horrific accident. And I just want to get your take on, she has apologized like everyone else. Was Gayle King being a clout chaser?
Yeah, but this is, some people have a history of this sort of kind of like behavior, right? And the more I'm important, you can you'll get this kind of nonsense. So for instance, I'll give you a incident that I think happened a few years back. So there's an actress, a Disney actress who had dreads, and she was in the Spider-Man movie, right? Zendaya, I think her name is. She was in the Spider-Man movie, and she had dreads. And one of the people on one of these style shows, essentially was making like disparaging remarks about dreads and how they smelled and all this, right? And it's in the incident of her doing it, it was like, look how cool we are, right? But the blowback was such that her whole sort of existence was thrown into, not her whole career existence was thrown into question, right? Because one, think about what you're doing. You need people to be on your style show, to come through and tell you what you're wearing and tell you look fabulous, so you can tell them they look fabulous. And if you start kind of like taking shots at these A-list celebrities in an era of girl power, then you are the girl on the outside of this girl power circle. Now no one's talking to you. Now you're not on television. You know what I mean? Now you're like, I'm sure they're paying her, as we say in the hood, a gang of money. And all of a sudden, you know, your gang of money is gone. And so, you know, her mea culpa looked really real. It looked like she bought 3 houses, and the day after someone said, "You're fired." Now, you know what I mean? Her mea culpa looked really sincere. And this is, I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I think she. Do I watch the CBS morning news show? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm happy she was able to renegotiate a contract. She did a great interview. Got a lot of clicks out of that.
Yeah, I think every now and then she grandstands, and she got caught grandstanding. And like remember how she sat there? I mean, she sat there like a rock when R. Kelly lost his mojo, right? If she was worried, she would have like, oh, I was afraid for my safety. I'm getting out of here. Nobody stands there. But she sat there sort of like a robot while he did this, because I think she knew it was good television. I'm not gonna end the interview. Oh, look, this is gonna play well. I'm gonna be trending and all this good stuff. So I think she went in, and you know, likely. Look, mind you, these are strong-willed people, right? So if I'm Gayle King and you work for me, and I ask somebody some off-color bad thing, I work for you. I'm not going to go, oh, Gayle King, I think you might have been out of line with that last question, because then you're fired, right? Someone on her level, her tier, her boss, her circle has to do that. And the fact that no one does tells you what her circle is. So every now and then, like I was telling my nephew, I was trying to explain to him the Jeffrey Epstein, who did not kill himself, and the Prince of England, and how him doing that could topple their government. One day I'll share that with you. I thought it was pretty good. But it's that idea. It's the idea that you are so far removed from everyday common sense, and you run on super rich people common sense, which is, oh yeah, I'll pay my gym instructor $7,000, you know, a month to get me in shape, because I got a deal, because my girlfriend so-and-so over there in Bel Air, she's paying her guy $15,000. She's a dummy. You know, I got a deal. I've got common sense. I don't waste money. You know, their common sense on that level is not actually common sense. So I think she went up there. She said this stuff about Kobe Bryant. Yeah, but come on, Lisa Leslie. I mean, it had to feel like, come on, girl. You know, come on. You know, now should she have asked it? A lot of people brought up, you know, Kobe was alive, you know, God rest his soul, 30 days ago. I mean, not 30 days ago, 6 months ago, and he won an award. You could have asked him when he won that award if you're going to bring these things up. And everybody was right. So then, you know, she got a lot of blowback. And there's nothing worse, for your white listeners, there's nothing worse than a black person getting a lot of hot blowback from the black community. Because you don't want to be standing outside. And I don't think anybody wants to be standing outside their community, right? And then Snoop Dogg said what he said and gave it this whole, how dare you which has a tinge of, we're a long-suffering people. How dare you sell any one of us out? And the guy just died, and he lost his daughter. And you have gone too far outside of our circle, and we tolerate a lot, right? And then he threatened her. He eventually threatened her, but gave a good mea culpa because, Snoop Dogg is not a gang member. He's a rich millionaire who lives in a giant house in the hills. He's not rolling through anybody's section, firing off anything and keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? Those days are gone. The rap music is only about goofy words, and only morons shoot the crap up, right? And that's just the truth of it for all your rap listeners. So Snoop Dogg essentially gave a mea culpa because essentially he's threatening us. So how old is she? 75? He's threatening somebody's 75-year-old grandma. You look ridiculous. And with her head wrap on, if I remember correctly. She got put on blast.
It was beyond ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. Snoop Dogg ain't riding on anybody. I thought it was hysterical.
I didn't even laugh. I just sat there and I said, okay, you take this horrific incident. You then, and
Sully, the name of the recently deceased. Right?
9 people.
Well, not Sully.
9 people recently deceased. And you turn around, you say this, I'm sure you're saying this for the clicks. Now, I don't know if CBS played the clip or, aired the clip so that they would get ratings. I mean, chances are, because, however she looks at the situation, she's talent for CBS. She's not she's not a partner. She's not a producer. She's paid talent, and highly paid talent.
Yeah, but she gets to produce her content. She knows what she's saying, and her excuse that someone else edited that weirdly is ridiculous. It's you sitting there saying it, right? And the problem was the question and not the commentary, the criticism that the questions were out of bounds. And if you really wanted to ask those questions, you could have asked him 6 months ago when he won an Academy Award, if he wanted to be so on about it. If you get, you know what I'm saying? And then to bring it to somebody who, like Lisa Leslie knows, she's not his family. If she's anything, she's a work cohort. They're in the same line of work. How would she know? It would be just as messed up if I ran up on Gayle King and asked her about Oprah's relationship with all these accused rapists, right? And there's a bunch of them. I don't expect Gayle King to sit up here and give me reasons why someone else did anything they did, or you know what I mean? It's not on Lisa Leslie. Just like that stupid example I just gave, it's not on Gayle King. So, but at the end of the day, you did ask it. You asked it on. It's not like you can say it wasn't me, right? It's not like it was asked on tape and you can go, oh, the tape was edited weird. Like, we can see you. There are no edits. So yeah, you should have had a little more risk. But this happens every time a black celebrity dies. People can't wait to dig up the worst thing he did or she did, right? It's always. It happened with James Brown. It happened with Michael Jackson. It happened. It happened with who passed away recently. Who let an interesting life. It happened to all singers, right? But it always strikes me as people taking a shot at dead people, and I like them less for it. Unless they really deserve it, because when some of these rich pastors die, I always on my Twitter say something smug about them, because I'm an opponent of God, and I'm highly judgmental. I'm judgeful of people who thank you. I'm judgmental of people who are priests who I think don't help as many as they can when they live in giant houses. Look, if you're a priest and you make a lot of money, the first thing you should do, other than make a lot of money, is open up a soup kitchen. If you got a nice car, the first thing you should have did was got half the price of car and open up a soup kitchen. I'm one of those people. So I'm going to be inspired by my minister. I just don't want him looking good and me sitting in the pews and giving him money. But all these things are the norm in America now. So, what is it? 1% has half the money, and all the rap now is about how broke you are. And I'm at the clubs and look at all the fine, excuse my language, but dimes. I got dimes is slang for really sexy ladies. A 10, right? Look at all the fine dimes I got while I pop this $500 bottle of champagne in my urban. Yeah, go ahead.
I got to interject here because I got to ask you about, since you're leaning towards hip hop and you're reciting lines.
I love me some hip hop. Good hip hop.
Tell me about Pop Smoke. Tell me your understanding of Pop Smoke. I had no idea until my son, my 12-year-old son, was like, "Yeah, Pop Smoke." He because I asked him, it came across the Twitter feed, and I was like, I have no idea who this is. Right. And I know you're in constant conversation with your nephews. Were you in the know of Pop Smoke? Was he major player?
Well, I didn't know who he was until he died, right? And when he died, I've got like a ton of nieces and nephews, and a few of them on their social media were talking about him. So I was like, yeah, well, first of all, the music is how would you phrase it? They always, I would call it grimy, but people always say it tells the tale of the streets, this kind of thing.
Trap music?
Is that what it is? Trap music? I don't know what kind of music he made, but since he died, I went and listened to some of his lyrics, and I don't know, man. He strikes me as, he was killed in his house. So so before people start giving, ridiculous mockery, the guy seemed like he had it together, in a line of work, which is rap music and bragging and all this stuff, and he followed his dream, right? He had these albums, he had this following, he made a gang of money, all before anybody even knew who the heck he was, and he died in a home invasion. He was where he was supposed to be, doing what he was supposed to be doing, right? And these people just...
Some of the people that we were speaking with, like, he gave out his address. Was he like...
Is that what happened?
From what I heard, and I could have this wrong, that he gave out his address.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting here and you're talking about how much money you have, and granted, you're not taking any of this lightly, because what happened to him was, totally regretful, and it was a horrible situation.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able. One mistake shouldn't kill you. Just like that guy on the plane who what was his name? He died like a month ago. The other rapper.
Okay.
Juice WRLD, right? So Juice WRLD, from what I understand, had drugs on the plane, right? So, and this is don't hold me to this, because this could be completely wrong. But from what I understand, there was drugs on the plane, and somebody called the police that there was drugs on the plane, and he didn't want to get caught with drugs on the plane. This is what the young people tell me. And so he ate the drugs. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Where do you get this information, right? So it's no matter what it's the truth is going to be, there's going to be some street kind of, I guess, what is it when it's fake news? Like, you don't really know until somebody tells you what actually happened.
It's fake news.
And then I lost track of Juice WRLD, and I forgot how he actually died. But like, this is what was going on when he first, like, within 12 hours of like this tragedy happening. And something tells me, people know where the rich people are. So I don't know if he was. Remember, they used to rob people's houses in LA when people went to award shows because they were on Twitter going, "Hey, I'm at the award show," or "Hey, I'm in Bali," and they would rob their house. He could have been out with his friends, texting on his social media, "Hey, we chilling at the pool here," and someone goes, "I know where that is," and it could be just that simple, just that evil. And the thing is, you know, he wasn't out here doing any of the quintessentially evil stuff. He made money. He was making records, following his dream. He was in his house, and then death came for him, quite frankly. And I don't know. There's a lot of these guys out there who are just sinister bottom feeders, crawling around, murdering all people. When hip hop was new, the first person I remember, God rest his soul, to die over nonsense, got shot in front of a club, was Scott LaRock. Remember Scott LaRock?
I remember Scott LaRock. He was trying to break
up. The first person I remember. Yes, and I was like, and Scott LaRock, nobody knows who did it. That guy got away, and I remember thinking way back then, you know, jealousy is what it is, right? And then you just blend. There's another one like Jam Master Jay. Mm-hmm. Jam Master Jay. People know what happened there, and he's a hip hop icon. He is a black cultural icon, and people know what happened, and they won't say anything. So this is why I believe if Dr. King was around today, and you knew something bad was going to happen to him, a lot of these people will go about their business and be like, Dr. King is old, like rap music. Dr. King is old. Dr. King is yesterday. Cancel Dr. King. It'd be all this. I mean, I think a lot of the energy is so adversarial that it's goofy. It doesn't make any sense to be adversarial about some stuff. And some people teach this confrontational energy from the womb out. And, you know, a lot of this, it's not even these guys' fault. It's what they're told the world is from, like, day one. I remember there was a phase when women would buy their kids $200 Timberlands, and the kids couldn't walk yet. And I was like, $200 Timberlands that he's going to wear for like a month and a half. You know, it was just the environment of what is cool and this energy of I don't even want to call it lone warriorness. I just want to call it like it's not based in any of that. It's sort of based in like Scarface, idiotry in Scarface, right? And you know, people want to make money on it, push it forward as this is what hip hop is. And now corporate hip hop is this happy gangster culture that corporate hip hop sells the world, and people who actually live in that culture take it very seriously. And there's a lot of jealousy. He was out of the hood. He was done. He didn't sell any drugs or shoot up anybody. He was rapping about his environment and, you know, trying to get some weed and get some girls, but stay away from the dumb guys. That's what his music was about. And, you know, so he's rapping about living in the environment, but not the stuff that Jay-Z's rapped about, who hasn't been in the environment for 30 years, and he's still rapping about selling drugs to people. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of, and some of these guys, and he got a lot of love from like the environment, not the environment, the kids in the environment, right? Organic love. Corporations didn't say.
Did he get a lot of love from his peers that love his music?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, but here's the thing. As an artist and someone who doesn't make money with the art, but as an artist, you want a following. No matter if you're a painter or a singer or a sculptor, you want people to go, oh wow, this rendition of this work is great. This period that he's in, that he's joined, is great. This music thing where he got married, he made these 4 albums are great. But then he made 2 albums about his daughters being born. Oh man, that's great. Then he got divorced. Oh man, these 4 albums about loss and loneliness and betrayal. Those are great. Like you follow an artist through these phases if they speak to you. Like I followed Eminem for like 10 years. I was like, whoo. And then I'm just kind of like done with Eminem because it got to a point I was just kind of like, it just seems like he's not evolving. It's all I hate women, and I'm a sad white guy, and no one thought I could rap. And yeah, I've heard that for 10 years, man. What is the next level? There's got to be a next level. Got to be. If Eminem, if you're listening, please, there's got to be a next level because he's so good at the at the craft, right? And he never uses the N-word. He never raps about selling drugs to people. They're all stories. They're all really interesting takes on stories. But granted, when he writes that, they're brilliant. But he just messes around far too much. What is it? When you have to go and sit on the couch and tell you what's wrong, my mama didn't hug me enough. I get that. You've told me that forever. But, you know, the environment needs to shift. And people know who the evildoers are. The dastardly.
I want to shift gears on a couple of things because we're going to be wrapping up in a little bit.
Yeah, let's move it.
I want to throw out the story to you